I was only 1 minute late. Well, I got to tell you, my wife, with the aid of a little Chinese family down the street, made dinner for me tonight. And I wasn't going to miss that. I just wasn't going to miss it. So I know I'm late. You're late. I was trying to get all my Chinese food out of my teeth so you guys didn't have to sit here and watch me pick at my teeth the whole time. Because I know that's your favorite thing to do, but let's see. Looks like me and you, Mara. I was going to call you tomorrow. Are you home? Are you at home, hanging out at home? Ugh. People sending me stuff. I don't get it. Tonight is my favorite subject night. I am Shaggy. What up, Shaggy? Tonight is my favorite subject. Fuel surcharge. Everybody likes fuel surcharge, don't you? And this is what I hear all the time. All the time. Well, we've been hauling for this broker, and they don't do that. Jeff, what up, brother? Jeff, I've decided that your puppy's name is Whiskey Tango Foxtrot Arnold. Not everybody's going to get that, but we do. I have a doctor's appointment. I'll call you after. Yeah, call me tomorrow. Anyway, fuel surcharge. And here's what I hear. Well, we're dealing with this broker, and they don't do fuel surcharge. They just roll it all into the rate, And when I ask them for fuel surcharge, they go, "Well, we just don't do that. Do you want the load or not?" They do that. And I even know of a few, not very many, but a few customers that claim they don't have fuel surcharge. So let me do that. Let me start out from the very beginning and walk you through this and show you how much money people are stealing from you. And yes, they are. They are stealing from you. So let me just start at the very beginning, and we'll go with that. Eddie, what up, brother? Root canals. I am doing good, man. Anthony says surgery sucked. Surgery always sucks. Unless they're, never mind, I won't get into that. I hope you feel better, and you know that. The fuel surcharge was set up many years ago, and it was set up and designed by the most knowledgeable people on the entire planet, the federal government. Yes, because fuel had gone through the roof, just gone crazy. And there were enough people around that decided they needed to do something. They needed to offset it or do something, that they came up with this program. So here's what I want you to do. If you've never done this, you need to do it. Hold on. I'm going to write it down so you can see it very plainly. I want you to log on to, hold on. This is how professional we are at. Log on to, you see this? You see it at all? Yeah. DOE at gov.com. Because every Tuesday, the Department of Energy posts up the suggested fuel surcharge for the coming week, for the week going forward, from Tuesday on, through Monday of next week. They post it up. And the Department of Energy does this every week. And if you log on to that page at doe.gov, And look, they have PAD 1, PADD 1, PADD 2, and PADD 3. Those are the different areas of the United States. And you'll see when you start looking at it, it's very simple, very, very simple page. You'll see that what the fuel surcharges suggested fuel surcharges for the area that you're running in. Transport Bandits, Jeff and Cheryl run to the West Coast a lot, and the fuel surcharge varies a hell of a lot. They start out down in PAD 2, or sometimes border on PAD 1, which is the East Coast, and they go clear to the West Coast. And your fuel surcharge varies a lot. It is based on the area that you're going to. That's what they base it on. So what you'll see when you log on to this page is you'll see the suggested fuel surcharge. I just got ours because I've been out of the office all day today. I just got ours. Let me see if I even kept it. Sometimes I just delete it because I don't pay much attention. The fuel surcharge for this week is suggested for this week for PAD 2 is 83.4 cent per mile. Okay, 84 cent per mile. Now, that's based on 370.02 per gallon for your fuel, and that's the cheapest one. PAD 2 is the cheapest one. So if you go by that, you should add 83 cent to whatever rate per mile it is that you charge. You should add that in. And this is another thing that I want to make really, really clear to everybody. Okay, the government puts their fuel surcharge out there, and they put it out there. They put it out there per gallon. We don't care about that. I mean, we don't give a shit what it is per gallon. We care about what it is per mile, because everything we do, when we're figuring up our cost and how much it costs us to operate and how much it costs to go from A to B, we're going by the mileage. We get paid by the mile, unless you're working in agriculture and you get paid by, the hundredweight or something like that. But even when you do, you convert that to mileage anyway, because that's the easiest way for us to understand our cost. So when you've got the government program and they're going by the gallon and you're going by the mile, guess what? At some point, a lot of RV transport companies give us a fuel surcharge, but they'll cut the base rate so the drivers still get screwed. I'm going to get into that. If the government goes by the gallon, and they do, and we as truck drivers, we go by the mile. At some point, depending on what your fuel mileage is, at some point, you're going to get even with that fuel surcharge. And if the fuel's really, really high, like it has been, you will not only will you get even, a lot of my friends and me, I make money on the fuel surcharge. I actually get more money in fuel surcharge than what my fuel actually costs me. Now, we can get into, the different charge cards and discount programs and mud flap and this and that, all that stuff, and compare one to the other. And that's a good thing to do. Everybody should be doing that anyway. But they're going by the gallon and we're going by the mile. So let's say your truck gets 6 miles to the gallon, and hopefully you do. If you don't, you probably got a problem. Or you're driving a truck like mine and you ain't going to get but 5 no matter what. But if you're getting 6 miles to the gallon, at some point that fuel surcharge, because they go by the gallon, is going to catch up to you. And it'll actually go over. So if you figure like this week, if you're getting 7 or 8 miles to the gallon and they're figuring on 83 cent per gallon as your fuel surcharge, you're not burning 83 cent per mile. You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with this? You don't have to be a mathematician or, a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out. You're almost never, unless you go to California or up the East Coast, you're almost never burning 80 cent, 85 cent per mile in fuel surcharge. Okay. But According to the federal government, you have the right and you have the ability to charge that much. So back in the very late 90s, it might have been around 2000. There was a company out in Oklahoma called Sunflower. Some of you guys might remember them. And they were a pretty big trucking company. They pulled reefers and they mostly ran the West Coast and back, and they were all over the place. Their owner operators got together. Hey, what up, Shaggy and Frank? Shaggy's laying in a hospital. I'm right here talking about Fuel. Anyway, these sunflower owner operators got together and they did a little brain ciphering on the back row of the truck stop one night, and they figured this thing out, this whole gallon versus mileage thing, and they came to the conclusion that the company they were leased to was stealing their money, stealing their fuel surcharge. I figure my surcharge is 6 miles to the gallon. I get 6.7 to 7.2 out of a big hood. That's damn good. That's damn good out of a big hood. Real good. So these sunflower owner operators got together and they figured this thing out. They even were good enough at it, or at least one or two of them were, to figure out how much the company was keeping from them. So they all got together and they filed a class action lawsuit and they won. And the company had to pay them back. And at that time, 20, 25 years ago, it was a big, big, big amount of money. It was like somewhere around $24 million that they had to pay back to their owner operators, because it went to court. It went to court, and the court decided that fuel surcharge money was indeed the truck owner's money, not the company's money. So my company automatically gives me the current fuel surcharge off the top of my trips. Good. That's good. One less thing. And I would expect you, Mara, to hold people to that. I would. But a lot of people don't. I mean, I had this conversation with a very, very good friend of mine yesterday, and her response was, well, these brokers just ain't going to do it, so that's that. And they just throw up their hands and give up and walk away. But those sunflower owner-operators sued the company, and it put that company out of business. It put them out of business. They had to cough up $25 million back to their owner-operators because they determined that they've been keeping their fuel surcharge all that time with no notice, no agreement, no nothing. And when they went to court, the court determined that that was indeed the truck owner's benefit, not the company's, and they made the company give it back. So they paid them. The owner-operators got paid, and Sunflower went out of business. So it wasn't like okay, we're going to go broke and not pay you. They didn't do that. They actually paid the bill, and then they went out of business. I don't know why. Could have been a lot of things. But that's your money, okay? That's not a broker's money. And I'm going to tell you right now, I own trucks. I've owned trucks for years, all my life, and I am a broker. And with our trucks, they're all dedicated. We separate the fuel surcharge on the rate sheets. We generate, even though we're dedicated, we do the same thing all the time. We generate a rate sheet for every single load, and we separate the fuel surcharge so that they can see it. Okay? It's a tax thing, for us and for them. So we separate it, we put it on the sheet. I would submit to you that if you're hauling a broker load and they refuse to do that, you got to wonder why. Why would they do that? I think I know why. I think somebody way up high in the company said, yeah, we ain't going to do this fuel surcharge. We'll just give them a lump sum and just tell them it's figured in. That asshole figured out how to keep some of your money. I think I've only had 2 brokers willing to break it down. That's the key word, willing to break it down. Willing to break it down. Yeah. I don't want to haul for people that aren't willing to break it down because it's a law. It's pretty damn simple. Okay. It's a damn law. And I've heard that for years. Like I said, I was having this conversation with a real good friend last night, and she said that, well, they're not going to break it down, and I make good money hauling it, so, I just do it. You'd be making more money. You think about this for a minute. 83 cents. If you're hauling freight and they say, well, this rate's $3. God, that's a great rate, isn't it? Isn't it? You're actually hauling for $2.15. That's what you're doing. Okay? Because the fuel surcharge, what up? The fuel surcharge shouldn't be part of that. And if you're working for a company that adds and deletes and plays games with the fuel surcharge, they need to be called out on that because it's not right. And bring up Sunflower and just say, hey, you pay me now or pay me later, big boy. But break it down so that you know what you're hauling for. And what you'll find out with a lot of these brokers is you're hauling for $1.30 a mile. Well, it's a good long trip. You make it, and it's $2.20 a mile. Subtract 83 cents. That's what you're getting. That's your money. That's your money that they are keeping. Because I promise you, there's not a broker in the world that doesn't charge their customer the fuel surcharge. Not one. Not one. I had a customer a couple years ago, and she said, yeah, we don't want to mess with that. She was a little bitty small customer. Yeah, we don't want to mess with that. We're not going to do that mess with that. You just give me your rate and we'll pay that rate. She didn't want to do it. So I said, I can't haul for you. We're going to get into legal trouble, you and I. I can't do anything for you. So I started on my billing. I started billing her fuel surcharge and the rate on my billing, and she never said anything else. So, she was an asshole customer anyway. I hated hauling for her. But they'd be stupid if they didn't charge it. They do charge it, okay? They do charge it. And shippers, manufacturers, all those people, believe me when I tell you, that fuel surcharge is figured into their cost of doing business. It's figured in. Because if they deal with a broker or a big carrier, they got to pay it. Now, my biggest customer for the last 23 years, and they've been, the biggest customer we've ever had, and we've got a great relationship. They have their own fuel surcharge program, and they publish it every Tuesday, right about the same time the DOE publishes theirs. And it's always less. So what I do is I take the PADD2, I add 15% to that, and I add that to their rate to offset the fuel surcharge. I still, on every one of my bills, I still have the rate and the accessorials separate from the fuel surcharge. But I just charge them a higher rate because they have their own fuel surcharge program, and it sucks. It's too cheap. It doesn't add up. So sometimes, if fuel's fluctuating like it is right now, and jumping around, sometimes the bear gets you, sometimes you get the bear. But the bottom line is I'm still getting my 83 cents, period. Some weeks it's 85, some weeks it's 81, but I still get my 83 cents, and I'm going to. So if I ever, for whatever reason, rates or withholding or that, if I ever went to court with them, I don't have an argument. I don't have an argument because, like I said, some weeks they win, some weeks I win, and it washes out. And if we had to sit down and do the math, every single week, then, that's just a point of contention that I don't really need to get into. I have one customer adds 12% as a fuel surcharge to the line haul. Well, I guess that's all relative, isn't it? 12%. See, with one of my biggest customer, I have lanes for them, the longer lanes, and the rates that I have in place are a rate per mile, and we do round trips for them. It's all dedicated, so it's all a rate per mile. If I do local stuff for them, and we do, if I do little shuttles for them that 80 miles and excuse me, and I put a couple guys down there, and they're doing 2 or 3 or 4 of these a day. 2 or 3 or 4 of these a day. I charge them a flat rate, per load. And then at the end of the day, we figure out the mileage and we add the fuel surcharge to that flat rate. And that's what my agreements, all my agreements with them. Sorry you're late. What the hell have you been? What? We've been going on here for 20 minutes. Anyway, glad you're here. So that's what I do to average out the fuel surcharge. Still, though, at the end of the day, the important thing to me is that it is kept separate from the rate. And I'll tell if I haul a broker load, and sure we do, not very often, but we do, you know, if I get my truck back home to pick up another customer load, which is that's the situation a whole lot of you are in. If I have to use a broker to get back to my company freight, if I do that, I want that separated out. And I will say in a heartbeat, they'll say, well, I got $3.30 a mile, and I'll go without fuel. It's just a flat rate. And I go, okay, fuel's 83 cents. So what are you paying me? $2.50? You paying me $2.50 a mile to run my truck? Bubba, you getting $3.40. I'm not gonna argue with that dumbass, and I'm not gonna let him steal my 50 cent. That's my 50 cent. That's what I got this place open for. 50 cent. I want my 50 cent. I want my whole 50 cent. All of it. I don't want to argue about it. I don't want to negotiate. I don't want to listen to some bullshit excuse. I want my 50 cent. You'd be amazed if you sit there and fight for your fuel surcharge, okay, with your customers and your brokers. You'd be amazed at what that adds up to at the end of the month, at the end of the year. It's a lot. It's a lot of money, okay? Example, 490 miles at $3.90 a mile, $11.19, plus $239.32 for fuel. Okay. See, I mean, I get that, and I see people that go with percentages on that. That's a bullshit number. It should be paid on miles. I mean, if they're just doing that to keep you happy, then some days you win, some days you lose. Most of the time, you're going to lose on that. I made it. Flo, what up? Okay, so your fuel surcharge is a critical part of your money. I don't have a calculator in front of me, and I don't want to sit here and start doing arithmetic, but I will tell you, 30 cents a mile, over a period of a year, you run 100,000 miles a year. How much is that? It's a lot. You might can offset your insurance with that. So, the biggest thing it is, but he won't budge. It's been whining about it for years. See, that's what I hear. He won't budge. Yeah, they won't budge. They won't budge. I hear that all day, every day. That's what, my friend last night said. Well, they're not going to change the way they do it. I've asked them 1,000 times, and they just said, well, we'll just find somebody else to haul their freight. They are not going to budge. They're a better fucking negotiator than you are. Very simple. Either that or you're desperate enough to haul their freight and not require that they pay you your money. I guarantee you, the customers out there, if you have direct freight, you stand a whole lot better chance of getting your money than you do, through a broker, because a broker is going to take, whatever they can, your accessorials, your detention, your deadhead, your all your accessorials, loading and unloading, any extra thing that you would charge, they're going to keep as much of that as possible, because they can say, well, we'll give you $2,500. And that sounds like a big number. That's a big number. $2,500. You only have to do that twice, and you have a $5,000 week, which, before these COVID rates and all those ships parked offshore, $5,000 to $7,000 a week was considered a damn good week. I used to sell to my customers on that basis, and I get carriers lined up for blocks to haul, for a $5,000 week to the truck take home. He has enough local trucks around here. He has the advantage, and his rate per mile is still good. Sure. I get it. I hear that. I hear it every day, Mara. I hear it every day. He pays me really good. He's keeping your fucking fuel money. Here's another example. My rates haven't changed other than when I renegotiate my contracts every October for next year. My rates haven't changed other than the negotiation And sometimes I take 3%, sometimes 4. One year I took 7. My rates haven't changed in years. I mean, they're the same as they were, other than my annual cost of doing business increases are the same. My fuel surcharge, however, jumps all over the place every Tuesday. It's a huge, huge, huge difference. So how do we flip it? Hey, Betty, the only way to flip it, Mara, is just tell them I'm not going to haul your freight until you separate my fuel surcharge and show it to me. And I know a lot of people won't do that. I know a lot of people are afraid to do that. They don't want to lose the broker. They don't want to lose the customer, for whatever reason. Just like my friend said last night, well, they pay me really good and I don't want to make them mad. They're out negotiating you. They're negotiating better than you are. If you go into a negotiation afraid, you're going to lose pretty much every time. So, the fuel surcharge thing is an important thing. And the reason I make such a big deal about it is because it's yours and it's so much money at the end of the year that I think it's important to know as much about it as you possibly can. And to work on it and start. The reason I make such a big to do about that is because that is something that you can take to a broker or take to a customer and put it on the table and say, okay, these are my rates. Oh, those are great. That's really good. And here's my fuel surcharge. Oh, damn, that's going to put you out of the game there, buddy. Well, wait a minute. The fuel surcharge is legal. It's a better tool to negotiate with something that's mandated by the government than it is just to walk in there and go, yeah, we don't really like to go up there, so I'm going to charge you $4. Take it or leave it. If you negotiate that way, you're probably going to be broke real soon anyway. But if you negotiate with a reason, if you negotiate with some backup, if you negotiate with a purpose, more often than not, you stand a better chance of getting ahead and winning. That's what I would do. The other thing that I would do is if you're leased on to a company that's playing that game, playing a game with your fuel surcharge, number one, check your lease. Okay. Because if it says in that lease that they can keep any or part of it, you're screwed. You agreed to it. Now it's fair game. If it doesn't say that in your lease, you might want to put your heads together like those Mayflower boys did years ago with some of the owner operators and go, you know how much money these guys are keeping that belong to us? It's not the rate. That's what I'm trying to get through to you. This fuel surcharge doesn't have anything to do with the rate. It's not your rate for the haul. It's strictly to offset the incredible increase in fuel costs for the last 30 years. That's what it's there for. If fuel comes down, and customers like to say, well, if it goes down, are you going to give it back to me? Sure I do. Because what I charge you goes down, right along with the fuel. I mean, the price of fuel. Yeah, sure I do. Of course I do. Oh, you will? Sure. Of course I will. Fuel goes down, that rate goes down. If you ever get down, you guys are going to love this one, okay? If we ever get down to $1.30 a gallon, then you will indeed owe your customers money. I would not hold my breath for that to occur. I don't lay awake at night wondering what day it is we're going to get down to $1.30. Those days left us in the 70s, and they're not coming back, ever coming back. But that's the break point. Anything over that, you should be charging your fuel surcharge, and you should get your fuel surcharge. And a lot of these brokers will say, well, I added it into your rate, so I'm just going to have to subtract it back out. So what's the difference? I don't want to negotiate with that guy. If I call somebody on the phone, and I expect if I haul broker freight that's inbound, and yeah, I know that there are some people on the internet go, ain't no such thing as a backhaul. That's a dumbass that's trying to make his living off the load boards. Doesn't have any customers. He's not leased to anybody that pays him anything. So that's a dumbass that thinks you can actually wake up in the morning, get on DAT, and make a living with your truck. And if the last 2 years has proven anything, you better be really good at it or you're not going to make it. Really good. You better stay in a real tight area, like Shaggy's been telling you for years. That little home area that he used to put on his maps up there. If you stay in that area, you have a better chance of making a damn good living than if you get out of it. So at the end of the day, I'm just one of these guys. I just like to keep it clean. Honestly, I mean, really, that's the whole point of it with me. You know, when I get done doing a service for somebody, pick up their freight here, deliver it there in good shape, not all beat up, not halfway destroyed, no claims. I pick it up on time, I deliver it on time. I just want to be paid for what I do, and I want it to be really clean. I want my rate to be my rate, my fuel surcharge to be my fuel surcharge, and my accessorials to be my accessorials. That's what I want. And my customer that I deal with, we had this conversation 15 years ago. I said, your fuel surcharge sucks. Yeah, that's from corporate. Just add it to the rate. Okay, I did. There you go. And they don't care. They don't care. We still separate it. It's still separate, but they don't pay me quite enough fuel surcharge because I go by pad 2 plus 15%. Okay. So they go by pad 2. So there's 15% sitting there. I just add that money to the rate. Now I've been doing it that way with them for years. I just don't think pad 2's enough to cover your fuel surcharge. And if the example I used earlier of the transport bandits running from coast to coast, you're going to run into a huge variance in fuel costs. When you go from some of the southeast states, not Florida, of course, but Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee's pretty cheap right now. But when you get to Florida, they're going to blow you up. They're going to charge another $1.50 a gallon for fuel out there because their taxes are so high. Same thing in the Northeast. If you go to the Northeast, you better be prepared to collect a whole bunch of fuel money and tolls and everything else. But you do that. So, recap, basically, fuel surcharge is legal. It is mandated by the government. And these guys that want to negotiate their way out of it, or deny it, or even threaten you about it, that's the first thing I say. I say, hey, I just want to go by the government guideline. And they'll go, huh? What? Most of them don't even know there is one. But yes, there is. So I go to the energy website, I get my pad area, divide by 3,000 for weekly miles, but I come up way high. So I'm doing something wrong. Well, I mean, no, unless you actually run 3,000 miles. You can sit there and do hypothetical calculations until you're blue in the face. But I bet there aren't very many weeks that you run 3,000. I don't know. I could be wrong, but if you look on that website, it shows you what to charge. It's pretty simple. Pretty simple. So that's your money. That's not the broker's money. That's not the shipper's money. That's nobody's money but yours. Nobody. If you own the equipment and you bear the cost of the fuel, that's your money. Nobody else's. And there's no debating that. Jeff said, you got to sign up, but you're spot on. Thank you, brother. Be careful out there. Tell Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. His ears are looking damn good. He's going to be a man. Love that. He's a cool looking dog. Okay. So that's my spiel for tonight is your fuel surcharge. What I wanted to get across to you is this. That's your money. It's not the shipper's money. It's not the broker's money. That is legally your money. It's simple. It's real simple. It's your money. It's not their money to keep. It's not their money to have. If you and TQL people like that count on your inability to take them to court because you don't have enough money to take them to court, and you can't take a week off the road just to take them to court, and they know that, so they steal from you constantly. Okay, if you went to court, you would win the case. The judge, any judge, would award you your money. Okay. So when I bring it up, that's the way to, and I'm not shitty about it. I'm not ugly about it. I don't sit there and go, yeah, law says I can charge you this, so fuck you, I'm charging. I don't do that. What I say is, I just like to go by the book. This is what the federal mandate is for fuel surcharge, and I'll show it to them. Here's the federal mandate. Just want to go by the book. Well, I added it to the rate, so I got to take it back out. I go, well, if you get below about $253 a mile, you're gonna have to find somebody else to haul your shit. But we're gonna keep this separate because I want to be legal. Don't you? Don't you want to be legal? I mean, does that bother you? Do you worry about that? I would if I were you. That's how I put it. That's how I put it out there. I just want to do the right thing and I want to do it legally. Now, I'm going to do this show tonight, and I've done this a million times, okay? And I'm going to tell everybody that this is your right, this is legal, this is what you got coming to you. I'm going to put that out there, and when we get done tomorrow, you're going to call somebody, and they're going to scare you. We've added it to the rate, and if that's not good enough, just haul somebody else's freight. They're going to try to back you up. They're going to double down and lowball your ass. Just go, okay, you know what? I was just trying to stay legal, and I thought maybe you would too, because, not separating the fuel surcharge from the rate is just lazy. What it actually is stealing. That's so they can keep part of it. I don't care if it's 5% or 10% of your fuel surcharge, plus whatever they make on the rate. That's stealing your money. That's stealing your money. You should get the whole fuel surcharge, and then whatever rate you negotiate is between you and them. Period. That's what's legal. Okay? And I know that every time I make this speech and every time we talk about fuel surcharge, the next day goes, I called my broker and they just said, screw you. We ain't doing that. Well, they won. They're keeping your money. Me personally, as soon as I found something else to haul, I'd be gone. But if we don't bring this stuff up, guys, if we don't put this stuff out there, and make it part of the everyday discussion, nothing's ever going to happen. People are going to continue to keep your money. I tell you this, all the years I was a government contractor, I will tell you this right now. If you're moving government freight and you don't pay your fuel surcharge to that truck, you won't be hauling it long, and they will blister your ass when they find out. Had it happen to a friend of mine last year. Big time. He got put in the penalty box. He got reprimanded big time. And they said, do that again, and we're done with you. And we will blackball you everywhere in the government. Don't you ever do that again. So it is your right. That is your money. It's up to you to get it and keep it. And right now with rates, what they're doing, jumping all over the place. And I know guys, it's the same old story. I know guys that are doing well. I know guys that are not doing well. Most of the guys that are not doing well refuse to haul freight where it needs to go and pays the best. Like some guy I got on Trucker G's channel one night, and this guy was a big advocate for that. And I said, well, if you stay in these areas and run this, well, what if I don't want to? What if I don't want to stay in that area? I said, so you're going to say I only run Texas, but you're by God going to pay me $4 a mile, and you think anybody's going to do that in a free market economy? Jesus, how stupid are you? Oh, what if I don't want to? Well, then you're stupid. You should not be in this business. And you're not going to be for very long. So that's my pitch about fuel surcharge, guys. It's your money. It's legal. You have a legal leg to stand on when you demand your money, when you request it, when you ask for it, however you want to say it, whatever makes you feel good to put it that way. That is your money. And if people start monkeying around with your rates and monkeying around threatening you and shit like that, you don't have to sit there and deal with that. And I wouldn't, and I don't. So that's all I got for tonight. Fuel surcharge. That was my favorite thing. I hope that you guys all call me tomorrow and say, you know what? You didn't make me a dime, so you said you were going to retire and go fishing on some island, so kiss my ass, go fishing. I hope you tell me that tomorrow. But I know I got you thinking. I know I did. I know you're thinking now. It's legal. I got it coming to me. I deserve it. Remember Mayflower? Those guys got together and sued that company, and they had to cough up $25 million. I don't know how that was spread. I don't remember how many owner-operators they had, but everybody got a great big check because they've been stealing their money for years. So, they had to pay them back. You can't monkey with that. Okay? Take good care of each other. I'm going to cut it short because that's all I got to talk about tonight. The convoy is still on and out there, and they're trying to turn it into something it's not. The grifters are alive and well. I despise those people. I'm not going to get into that tonight. I said my bit last week, and that's all I got to say about it. I think everybody, it's your money. If you want to send it to some low-life grifter, hell, you go right ahead and do that. Fuel surcharge is your money. It's nobody else's. It belongs to the person. Hey, Mark, call me tomorrow when you get a chance. It's your money. It doesn't belong to anybody else. That's your money. Get your money because it's a lot. It's a lot. Right now with rates, what they're doing, insurance doing what it's doing, and fuel's doing what it's doing, that's one way you can offset that. Think about it. All right. Take good care of each other. Look out for each other. I love you guys. I'll catch you next week. Same time, same channel, same place. Be good to each other. We are all we got.